Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Ease dancing, Chelsea screams and Serena Williams. How I spent 12 hours at Wembley for the FA Cup. The sun is shining as a father and two kids walk up the steps to the train station. All of them are kitted out in black Crystal Palace away shirts. It's FA Cup final day, and when the chariot to London Victoria arrives, it is already full of similarly eager Palace fans. Contrary to what the stipulations of the M23, or A23, as it really should be, rivalry suggest, there are plenty of Palace supporters making their journey to Wembley Stadium from Brighton. They may not willingly show it off too often on the streets in Sussex, but they still exist. This is the first surprise on a weekend of, mostly, sheer delight and unfiltered fandom. And this is the story of how that was shown across 2 days at Wembley for both FA Cup finals. Whilst I was told across 3 years at university that it is almost sinful to reference yourself as I in an article, indulge my vanity for 2 days of experiences, color, emotion, and London success. There is so much to be told from 2 days and 180 minutes, plus over half an hour of added time, of football. When the train doors opened at Preston Park Station, the first one away from Brighton heading towards London, at 11:26 a.m., I was already hearing the first cries of eagles. That would pierce my ears pretty much non-stop for the next 12 hours. 45 minutes later, and the number of groups of varying sizes had increased. Some were getting off at East Croydon, and some stayed on into central London. This is where individual plans are set in place with the destination of Wembley. Be it via the pub, fan parks, or elsewhere, most had a crate of some sort of beer and were headed for the summit of English football. Bottles of Estrella were littered about the place and put in the bin. Cans of San Miguel were everywhere. Fans followed and chatted with optimism and hope. This was a day out and an adventure before the football had even begun. Be it Willesden, Marylebone, Victoria, or Clapham, the routes were full of Palace tops, old and new. The odd sky blue city shirt did start to appear, but they were outnumbered. That seems apt. South London takeover was how Palace described their semi-final against Aston Villa. The same was appropriate here. It is simplistic, perhaps, to say that this just meant more to everyone from Selhurst Park, but it certainly seemed that way. City have been to Wembley 31 times now since 2011. That averages out at nearly twice a season. The journey is long. It is expensive. And when you have won the Premier League as often as they have, as well as both domestic cups and now the Champions League, it is harder to be excited about such an occasion, even at the end of such a horrible season. You could sense that sort of tiredness. Palace, on the flip side, made the most of their semi-final, not being too sure that it would lead to this second visit. I was also there in 2022 when they lost to Chelsea, and it was a similar day. Palace dominated the noise and the build-up. This was their opportunity to make history, and for Chelsea, it was trying to hit expectations. Palace were louder, they seemed to enjoy it more, and they lost. That didn't make a difference. Whilst it would have been gutting for them to fall short as well here, it was still a grand moment. The same really can't be said for City. Maybe that is why there was more Palace singing and chanting around Wembley. The buzz was for them. This is not to say that it didn't matter to City, and there will have been those who experienced this all for the first time and don't have that fatigue. It will still have hurt, but Palace were doing something incredible here. The walk from Wembley Stadium Station, not down Wembley Way from Wembley Park, this time, was like witnessing a fun fair. Ice cream, parks full of kids, City and Palace bonding over the love of the seesaw, and a coup outside Greg's, of course. There was hope and bristling energy. You can lose the football match, but never these memories or feelings. It was also just a glorious day in the sun. That was where I lost touch with the build-up and went to the sheltered media side of things. Around 3 hours before kickoff, the press room was already practically full. The attention on what has historically been the spectacle of the football season. Scheduling ensured that there was only one other professional match in England on at the same time, and that was in the League Two playoffs. This was a day centered around City and Palace, and it felt like that. Stuart Pearce discussed tactics over a burger whilst Mark Schwarzer sporting a protective boot on his ankle after tearing a tendon playing paddle. Wembley on FA Cup final day is like stepping into a cathedral built for chaos. It's where history echoes louder than the chants, and where fans arrive with dreams so fragile, even the wind feels like a threat. I had never experienced the full throttle of it all before -12 hours, sunrise to sunset, in football's most iconic theater. What I witnessed was not just a football match. It was a fever dream of Eberechi ease gliding across turf like it was his private dance floor. Chelsea fans turning into living megaphones. And, yes, Serena Williams, just casually redefining what it means to be royalty off the court. This is how my day unfolded. Buckle up. 7:00 a.m., the pilgrimage begins. The sun hadn't even broken through the London clouds when I joined the early train from Paddington. Opposite me, two Crystal Palace fans in vintage kits were deep in debate over starting formations. One had a thermos of tea, the other, a flask of what was definitely not tea. As we rolled toward Wembley, more fans trickled in, some in crisp Chelsea blue, others draped in red and blue stripes. A few sang softly. Others just stared ahead, anxious smiles cracking through their caffeine-fueled nerves. Wembley Way, when we arrived, was already buzzing. The pubs were open. The drums had started. Scarves waved in slow motion as fans posed beneath the famous arch, like they were touching the gates of Valhalla. 9:00 a.m., colors and confessions. If you want to know how football fans really feel, go where the cameras don't. Outside Gate F, I found a father and daughter, Palace fans, eating sausage rolls on a bench. I told her if we win today, the dad said, gesturing to his daughter in a glittery face-painted evil mask, she gets to skip school tomorrow. She looked up, beaming. Even if we lose, right? He hesitated. Well, let's see how dramatic the loss is. Over by the Chelsea fan zone, I overheard a different kind of conversation. About legacy, not just tactics. We need silverware, one fan muttered, or this whole rebuild thing is just vibes and YouTube compilations. And vibes were exactly what filled the air when DJ Spoonie dropped a surprise set outside the stadium. Palace fans breakdanced. Chelsea fans mocked the footwork but joined in anyway. It was the 1 hour where both sides moved together before the split. 12:00 p.m., Serena steals the spotlight. I knew something was up when a collective murmur spread through the VIP entrance. Phones went up, security stiffened. Then, emerging like a scene from a Netflix docuseries, came Serena Williams. Wearing a sharp-cut cream trench over a bold crimson dress that had absolutely nothing to do with your team's colors, she floated in with that impossible Serena swagger. Sunglasses, soft smile, and zero tolerance for subtlety. Alexis Ohanian, her husband and known Chelsea investor, trailed behind in a crisp blue suit, flashing a nervous grin that said, "Yeah, I know, she owns the moment." And own it she did. Serena wasn't there to choose sides. When a reporter asked if she was backing Chelsea, she raised an eyebrow, shrugged, and said, "I'm here for the game, the passion, the people. Any color goes today." It was the same line that made headlines weeks ago, when she praised USWNT goalkeeper Thalin Tullis-Joyce, and here she was, doubling down. Serena may not have a team, but she knows how to pick moments. 3:00 p.m., kickoff, and the stadium goes wild. The teams marched out to a wall of noise that hit you in the chest. Flags unfurled like waves crashing in slow motion. And the game? It started with intensity, but for much of the first half, it was a chess match in boots. Chelsea probed. Palace resisted. Then, as if someone cranked up the volume and flipped the tempo, Eberechi Ease took the ball in the 39th minute and did what only artists do. He danced. Not literally, of course, but the way he moved. Two defenders frozen. A turn so smooth it deserved a soundtrack. And then a through ball so precise it could have been GPS tracked. The move didn't lead to a goal, but it lit a fuse. Easy, easy, roared the Palace end. It wasn't just support, it was worship. And Serena, she stood up and clapped. Not politely, delightedly.